My name is Tony Viglietti. I am Executive Director of Friends of Riverside Drive. And our mission is to carry on a tradition that started in the early 30s when this road was dedicated as a memorial to our service members who fought in the First, Second Korean War and in the Vietnam War. And we're celebrating the sakura season in Japan now with the blossomings of the cherry trees, and especially here on Riverside Drive. The reason that cherry trees were chosen for Riverside Drive specifically was that the cherry blossom, speaks to the fragility of life. For a soldier, when they go to war, they never know if they're going to come back. And so the cherry blossom represents that fragility or fragile life that we share here. In a minute, it could be gone. And I get a little emotional about this because we really do not understand how tragic war can be to our community members, to their families, and the soldiers especially, and those who gave the ultimate sacrifice and gave their life. So the cherry blossom represents that fragile life that we share, and that at a minute's notice it could be gone. So Riverside Drive in the 1930s, a lot of the garden clubs, American Legion Post 82, American Legion Post 5, came together to make this a memorial to our service members. And they started, believe it or not, in 1933, planting irises the full length of Riverside Drive, which is about 3 miles. This happened in around 1933. And over the ensuing years, as World War II came and then the Vietnam War, Riverside Drive just turned into a trash collecting median. And when I moved to Riverside Drive or to Inglewood, and I saw that this road was dedicated to our service members, I said, I'm going to bring this back the way it was in the 30s. And I started planting cherry trees thanks to the National Tree Foundation and Relief Nashville. This started around 2009. And so gradually I started at the end of Greenfield and started planting trees all the way down Riverside Drive. I estimate there's probably anywhere from 500 or more trees on Riverside Drive now. It took a while. We would plant in sections as I was able to get trees, and one of my biggest contributors was the Japan American Society of Tennessee. And my volunteers came from the community of Inglewood, Rosebank. We had the police academy participate in planting trees. It's just been a community effort to really turn this into the beautiful boulevard that once existed. And so we are continuing to do that, and we maintain the trees, and as trees age and die out, we replace them. And so that is the mission of the Friends of Riverside Drive.
Do you get a lot of community support?
I was amazed at the community support that we received for volunteers. I started out with a very small group of men and women from the Inglewood Neighborhood Association. And then as this project got bigger and bigger, I was fortunate to establish a relationship with the faith community of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And they have a community off of McGavick Pike in Riverside. And they would all come out to help me plant trees. They would have a breakfast in the morning with the hot chocolate and maybe some donuts, and then we would head out to the median and we would start planting, and we had hundreds of people out here planting trees. And afterwards we would meet back at the church and they would provide lunch for us, and it was really something to see the number of people from the church, from the police academy, from the neighborhood come out for this event. And every year we would have these large community gatherings at the church, and it was very, very successful. And one of my dearest friends, Linda Fanasil, was like the person at the church that organized all of this. And just recently she passed away, and so I want to remember her for her efforts and the relationship that we developed over the years.
Tell us what you've learned about planting cherry blossom trees after you've planted so many.
Well, one thing about the cherry tree, and besides the symbolism that it represents about life, it was a tree where the profile of the tree is horizontal in growth and not vertical so much. And since we have power lines down Riverside Drive, this was really the perfect tree for several reasons. And one was, it was a tree that would not get into the main feeds of NES's power lines. And so I had to be very cognizant of that fact, or else they would come through and cut them down. You know, though I think NES would prefer that we not have any trees on the power lines, they're a little more accepting of the cherry tree as a possible tree. So it's the right tree at the right place.
What's the best way to plant the cherry tree? How deep should you dig a hole, and how much should you water?
In planting trees, and it depends if it's a ball or it comes in a container, but usually you want the tree to be at least from where the root flare is at the base of the trunk. You want to be at least 2 inches above grade, and then you want the hole to be twice as wide as the container or as the ball. And if you remember those two things, being twice as wide and 2 inches above grade, then your tree is going to thrive. If you plant it too deep, you'll suffocate the roots of the tree, and then you're going to have issues that it won't grow or it will die. So it's important that really the depth is not as deep as you would imagine, because when you get down to the root flare, you may be planting maybe 16 inches deep or even shallower.
Are you planning on planting into more trees on Riverside
Yes,
Drive?
my hope is that as developments come alive on Riverside Drive, that they will consider planting cherry trees on the residential side of the complex along Riverside, so that we will have this boulevard just covered in cherry trees. Now, there is a thought that among landscapers and horticulturalists that we don't like to see monoculture trees planted, because there's always a bug or a virus or a bacteria or a fungus that's coming out to get you. And so right now we're lucky with cherry trees. The only problem that I have is with yellow leaf fungus, which can be treated. But we don't want to end up like the emerald ash borer and have it destroy all of our, cherry trees. Of course, the emerald ash borer goes specifically after ash trees, which we're going to lose all of them practically here in Nashville.
How long do the blossoms stay on the tree?
The blossoms, the length and life of the blossom. As I mentioned, it's very short, and that's why it is the symbol of life, because it's here today, and in a couple of days it may be all gone, and it'll be like snow in spring with the blossoms flying everywhere. Yeah, it's really dramatic. So anyway, that's why I love the cherry trees. I think they're beautiful. They're one of the first trees to bloom in spring, and I think it really brings out how beautiful life can be. And so it is a perfect tree for this Memorial Boulevard. And so I'll continue planting cherry trees and taking care of the cherry trees. And if you travel down the full length of Riverside Memorial Boulevard, you'll have the sense of this beauty that exists, and it just, everyone gets excited when spring is here. And I tell my friends, okay, the trees are at their best peak. Get out there and see them, because in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, they may be gone. So that's the importance of the symbolism in the cherry blossom.